Hello and welcome. The Last Duel, sitting over my shoulder here, is a movie that came out last year. I checked it out for the first time a few months back. Have still been thinking about it quite frequently, and for some reason this movie did not land the way it was expected, but despite that, I think it's a great movie, so let's talk about it. Welcome once again, my name is Austin, and this channel is all about helping you to dig deeper and go further to better understand faith and film and everything that's in between. If that sounds exciting to you, make sure you click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any future content. As just mentioned, The Last Duel is a movie that came out last year and was really looking to be a great hit and is all around great critical reception. It looked to be very well done, high quality, very tangible movie, not a lot of special effects and stuff. And of course, by the great director, Ridley Scott, with a really great cast, including Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Jodie Comer as well. So what went wrong? For some reason, this movie just didn't land the way that it really should have. I finally checked the movie out a few months back for the first time. Absolutely loved it and wanted to share my thoughts kind of in this video here. Like many of other Ridley Scott's movies, the film just feels epic. There's a really great sense of scale to it, despite the kind of, in ways, intimate story that's being told and the things that it chooses to focus on. There's still a huge scale, a greater world, a lot of major events taking place throughout the film that really add to its great range of just feeling epic and at the same time intimate story and world-wise. It tells this remarkable story about love and lust, as well as honor versus shame, all to this backdrop of this epic medieval time period. Now, while there's plenty of fantastic and brutal, at times, action and battle sequences throughout this movie, the much more prominent aspect of the film that it chooses to focus on is the story of this tragic event that took place, and it's conveyed through beautiful performances from its main characters, coming from Matt Damon, Adam Driver, and Jodie Comer. We also have Ben Affleck in there as kind of a bit of a more side character, the main three being Driver, Damon, and Comer, but each of them gives a fantastic performance, and a performance that I feel like stands out amongst their filmography. You can truly feel the passion that they have for the material that it's based on and how they chose to interpret it and convey it through the film. I know this was the first time since Good Will Hunting, which I'm a huge fan of, that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote a movie together. It's excellently done, really well conveyed. We get as well a really neat incorporation of story structure, whereas we get it told through three unique and different perspectives, and how those different perspectives, where slight details may have been changed or interpreted differently, and how that affects the outcome of the circumstances that are taking place. So it's really well done, really well written, with great performances. You can feel the passion from each of the main cast in their respective role that I thoroughly enjoyed and appreciated. With such great talent both in front of and behind the camera, it's easily some of the best we have seen from these actors, writers, and the director. Ridley Scott sometimes is a hit or miss director, but this is easily one of his biggest hits for me, especially of the past 10 or 20 years or so. Oftentimes, no matter what the quality of his film ends up being, they always at least look great, even if there's some other weak elements of it. So not only does this movie look great, but like I said, there's just fantastic writing, a fascinating and tragic, heartbreaking story that's really impactful at the same time. All of those elements come together for a really great culmination of a film. There's so many powerful themes spread throughout this story that focus on that of shame versus honor, and what is the honorable thing to do in a moment when you're experiencing a weakness of character, and besides that, a love versus lust mentality, and what effect that has on people, specifically men, and the kind of the duties that we have when we're confronted with those different feelings and urges, and how we should act on those. So it's a really interesting exploration of all those things. I really thought it did it in a very respectful way to what was actually taking place historically, and how it's conveyed through the film. It's done really well. Like I said, there's a reverence to what actually took place. I'm not familiar with, the events and what creative liberties might have been taken, but I feel like it was respectful to a story that I was unfamiliar with, bringing it to light in a way that I was able to appreciate and have a newfound interest and respect for. One of the more unique elements of this movie that I really wanted to put an extra focus and emphasis on was the three part structure to it. Now, obviously, most movies have a 3-act structure, but in this movie's case, it tells the same story 3 times. First, we get one of the men's perspective, then we get the other man's perspective, and then we get what is told to us as the truth of Jodie Comer's character's perspective. And though it would kind of seem repetitive in nature, based on the repetitive storytelling, it really doesn't feel that way, because in each of those different perspectives and interpretations, the story is told slightly differently as we're seeing it from that character's perspective. And when we see it from their perspective, there's small little details and changes and tweaks to the events that are happening, or maybe how they thought they interpreted something that was said, a little exchange of a conversation, even just a little wink or a glance with the eye, that kind of thing, completely impacts that specific character's interpretation of the story and what took place. I always found something small but significant in those details, and it's almost as if you're putting together a puzzle as you're watching this movie. And even though we rewind multiple times back to the beginning of it to see it from a different perspective, you're continuing to add pieces to that same puzzle as you're putting it all together. And it was just really well crafted in that structure. If, like me, you missed seeing this movie in theaters or just wasn't totally interested in it, I definitely recommend checking it out, especially if you're a Ridley Scott fan. It's one of his best films of the past decade or so, for sure. Not only does it look beautiful, it is full of substance and so much significance with its themes and its story. I just thoroughly appreciated all the elements of this movie together as one. It's one that I've continued to think on since the months that I've watched it. Just randomly it comes to mind, and my appreciation for it, and one that I continue to recommend to people, and definitely one that I will plan on revisiting at some point not too long down the road. So I'd love to know your thoughts on this movie as well. Make sure you join me in the comments down below if you've checked this movie out, if you've not, what you thought of it, what you didn't like of it even. I don't always do more traditional reviews on this channel, but this is a movie I was really passionate about when I checked it out and wanted to share my thoughts on it. So thank you for checking out this video. Thank you for sticking around to the end. I will see you in the next one.